Yes, it's the Unscrabbled Manifesto of Africa here, and I'm going to take part in unraveling the word colonization, which is my third point. I have seen how things turn out to be good once a word is unscrambled. You can get the sense of its meaning from the unscrambled words. Here I will read only the last part, which is in my book. It's a huge chapter, colonization, on colonization. I'll read the last part. But first, I would like for us to think about colonization as the root word says. What does it mean? For any reader, an observant reader can note that the root word is colon, and as we know in biology, the colon is a part of the body in your stomach, just close called large intestines. So what colonization means is that you are turned into a colon, and when you are in the colon, you are just close by to the anus, or the departure point of the absorption of nutrients. And what is absorbed in the colon is only water, and the bacteria that live there produce some vitamins. But is the colon important? Yes, the colon is important because you cannot survive without the colon. But I would like to think of colonization, that is what we were made as Africans. We were turned into a colon, and that became our fate. Is colonization reversible, or is it irreversible? Is it reversible or irreversible? Many astute authors have written, the likes of Goge wa Thiong'o, Chinua Achebe. They have written about decolonizing our mind, how we can decolonize our minds to think in another different setup, not with the laid systems of tools of plunder of colonization, but to think in a more way that is gives hope of a new return of Africa. Remember, in Africa we are the people that developed the sciences. Mathematics was developed in Egypt. The chemistry, in fact, the word chemistry comes from the root chemet, chemistry. That's that in Egypt. But what happened to us? I think it's because of a meteorite fall that we forgot of how our ancestors had developed various civilizations that were noteworthy around the world, and we turned back to Stone Age. And when the imperialists came, they found us using stone tools, and they thought we were indeed not civilized, and that's why they came to and made us and turned us and resorted into colonization. Colonization, I can liken it with water, frozen ice. Once it melts, it has melted, but indeed it can be turned back into a former ice, but it is never the same ice that was melted. So I think for me, I would say colonization is irreversible. If our ancestors knew that colonization is irreversible, they should have fought tooth and tail to make sure that we are not colonized. But as we know, that is history. We were colonized, and now all we can do is to live with it and protect the risk of recolonization. As many people have seen, that leaders around the world, Chinese, the Americans, are starting to say that they can recolonize Africa. We need to make sure that our descendants do not face that danger in the future. So I'm going to read for you a small part. It's the last part, and I hope you'll understand it. The ants. Here the ants are ordinary people or ordinary Wanjiko living in Africa have levies are imposed in all sectors to ensure that the ants have minimal capital left to invest, yet they still survive. I believe it is for such that the ancient script said, "We are hunted from all fronts, hit and trodden upon, but we are never broken." When they seek refuge in the canonists, they are pacified and convinced that this is the way things are. And instead of being taught on ways to make things better, they are taught to wait for a time when all this shall end. It is such an isotonic nature that led the Mau Mau to truly believe there is no difference between the imperialist and the missionary. Who can blame them? The system contains a lot of coolant to cool down the heat from the nicotine of revolution and emancipation. This is the major notional stand of UMA, the Unscrupuled Manifesto of Africa. The actions of the puppet government betray them, so does the cations emitted by the religions, perhaps signifying a covert cohesion of these two systems of order. While this liaison exists, poverty grows, diseases proliferate, potentials and dreams are shattered. African lives live on the line of endangerment and possible extinction. We are stuck in a perpetual cycle of deprivation of our beliefs, treasures, resources, cultures, philosophies, and values, with the Salesian as our comfort, forever soliciting for help even in the Silicon Age. The antics of the puppet government instill a continuous false hope notion in many people in the nation. Each electioneering year, there seems to be a renewed hope that things will change. We just need to vote. Yet each time the puppet government bears out its talons and in a nasty manner installs casino-minded leaders over the Nostoc-like citizens, ever numerous, ever productive, even under deplorable conditions. Those who speak up to illuminate our minds do it through inflamed tonsils in their throats. Their onions won't do much relief to our bee stings. We still need to seek medical attention. The scions of the lions in our Kenyan coat of arms have entreated us to the same old cycle. The scions in our coat of arms have decoded them to be Raila and Uhuru. They will openly display their undying respect for each other, but at times they will be after each other's throat. Then after a while come to a truce, maybe to share the loots with the cunning cockerel that has always opened a consistent salon of corruption. Meanwhile, the runaway loans hurt the loins of Wanjiko, and the instituted esophagus cilia move in a snail motion trying to clear the clog of corruption. The anti-corruption independent agencies are usually tasked with a Herculean challenge of cleaning the Augean stables in one day, but the nearby two rivers have been dried out by assembly policies. The Herculean challenge of cleaning the Augean stables, if one can remember about that challenge in Greek mythology, in one day, but the nearby two rivers have been dried out by assembly policies. Wanjiko is stoic, the corruption stain grows, the tools used by the toons in the assemble ensure it. The dragon cannot be slain, yet each day its tails grow ahead, each to go and loot from various dockets of service. This ails every sector of governance. The Asai have literally spread their spores, even in minute government offices. The ants will still have to pay briberies for service delivery, and the fat cats go laughing all the way to the banks. Maybe the die is cast, for we wonder when will a stubborn colt take a stand and coil the straight highways of corruption in such a manner they will be difficult, almost impossible, to speed through, so that Wanjiko's coin can be saved. For as things stand, the corruption clan can't stop sipping cola, at the cost of heaping costs to the taxpayers in all loci of public coffers. Such an icon, emancipator of Africans, must scan and slit open these sinks of public money and restore the faded glory of Africa. If we don't act and defeat this internal dragon created by perfect government, we, this young generation, will have committed the greatest sin, sitting as we are being devoured and oiling our own extinction. Moreover, sailing on a wave of populism, the civilized world are changing their faces from covert parasitic stands in Africa to an overt one to come, when they shall come full throttle as colonizers. Who can guarantee this time they might not lose their humanity and wipe us out, as it happened in Australia? They wiped out the Aborigines. How this can happen in Africa? The truth is that there are no guarantees, and recolonization still remains feasible to them. Thank you.